Good evening, everyone. And welcome to the Gate City, Greensboro, North Carolina. We'll tell you a little bit more about that history a little later on. But this is a wonderful gathering of clergy persons, primarily from the United Methodist Church, and primarily African American and Latina. And we just welcome you to this place and look forward to spending the next few days considering what does the Lord require of us? What does the Lord expect of us? What does the Lord...
I'm coming to us this morning with a devotion titled, Has the Church Stopped Migrating? Have we stopped migrating? The night before Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King got assassinated, that was on the 3rd of April, 1968, when he delivered his last speech, I have been to the mountaintop.
And so one of the things that both of our agencies have been focused on, both of us have been focused on, is how do we make sure that the church, the laity, the clergy are equipped to do the work of God if there are not structures in place to support that. How does this work continue? And so again, for me, I'm conscious of the words that Christian brought us this morning and our history and our tradition, that it is in community that we can do this. So we wanted to be about creating that community. And I think being here at the Beloved Community Center, amen, is something that we've seen is going to happen for us this day. And I feel like there was one more goal and I'm not remembering.
So the Sentencing Project is about 25 years old now. Actually, we just had our 25th anniversary in early October. And it's a national research and advocacy organization. I'm the state advocacy coordinator, which means I track state laws and look at how those laws are impacting who goes into our prison system and how long they stay there. The large size of the United States prison system is a function of two things: what triggers someone from going into prison and their length of confinement. So at the Sentencing Project,
you know, God, and there's so many pastors in there, I don't want to be out of place talking about God to you all, but the reality is that when He puts you in a position of authority over people, He expects something from you. And He doesn't tell you how long you're going to be in that position of authority. And He holds you accountable. And in the end, that's basically what I did. I held myself accountable to God, which I'm going to always do. I'm not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes. But one of the mistakes, through His blessing, is not misusing my authority to change people's lives. And that's what is happening with our police department.
I'm going to talk to you about this immigration issue from a first person. I'm not here to analyze. I'm going to just tell you organically my involvement in this issue, because it's part and parcel to the fight for justice for all of those people that labor in the fields.
A question that we want to raise with you this morning, and we want to engage in a little public discussion, is if the church is not doing as much as you think it ought to be doing, and I would suggest as much as we think it ought to be doing, you could raise the question, what is binding the church? What's holding it back? What's preventing it from doing what it's called to do? That's a valid question, isn't it? But we're not going to discuss that question. We're going to discuss this question. Since we tend to project stuff outside of us, the question this morning is, what's holding you back? Okay? And so it's an invitation to look inward and to just think for a while, what is it? Am I doing the very best I can? And if not, what is the rock in my road? What's the obstacle? What's the barrier? What's holding me back?
Things that hold me back are one, just being in a comfort zone and not really wanting to step out of that comfort zone. That's the challenge that I face within myself, is to actually step out of those comfort zones, is to actually, face those opportunities and take those opportunities to step out of those comfort zones.
We decided to partner. We both are committed to young people in the church and young people of color in particular and developing leaders. One of the things that we've begun working on, we've been working on in both our agencies with the church, are mass incarceration and immigration reform. And one of the things that was concerning to us, is that oftentimes communities, African American and Black communities and Latino communities aren't brought together to have the conversation. So as we began thinking about this idea, I knew that the Beloved Community Center had been involved in Black-Brown dialogue throughout the state of North Carolina. I'd been a college student here, had known of the work of this place and really believed in the work of this place and thought it would be a great place to create an environment that teaches people what we want them to learn. And so it's been an exciting time these past few days. We came down earlier this year and met with the staff and just visioned what this might look like. What was really important to us, again, in the modeling of it and the example, offering this kind of example to the church, is that it was led by the community, with the community. And we were here as resource people, got people to the table, got people to the circle to be about this work, but really it was led by people who've been engaged in this work on a daily basis for years in Greensboro.
And while the issue of mass incarceration and immigration reform are incredibly important to both of the agencies that we work for, in my work with working with young adults all over the country, we've heard from them that those issues are equally as important. And we've heard young people over and over again looking for spaces to have the conversations around a variety of social justice issues. And coming from the Black and Brown community, the issues of mass incarceration and immigration reform were very pertinent issues to those communities and to the church as a whole, and how we live out our call to the social gospel and really define a message of liberation theology for the church.